Yeah, so there's a line I wrote in one of my stories, and it goes, "It is the destiny of every man to meet God, but it is not the destiny of every man to become religious." And I'm curious about this because in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he was a wise man, an intelligent man, no doubt about it. He must have understood that there's gonna be people out there that will subscribe to the faith, but maybe they'll never become religious. And
Yep.
I'm curious, did irreligious people exist in his time?
In the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Yes.
Um, in the time of the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can't say that there were people who were completely checked out and identity born Muslims only. But we can say that there were people who were, um, we can say they fell into sins, but they did consciously love Allah and His Messenger. And we know that because the Prophet said so. A man, he was a drinker. So he entered Islam having been in a completely non-Muslim life, enters Islam. It's not going to be a light switch. His old habits, they still were pulling him back, reeling him in. And his old habit was drinking. So one time a Muslim said something bad about him because he keeps drinking alcohol and getting drunk in the streets. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Don't help Shaitan against him. For all I know about him is that he loves Allah and His Messenger." Okay. And so we can say for sure there are people who fell into sins, but we wouldn't say that there were these types of people who knew about the Prophet, understood the message, and totally did nothing about it. That we don't see much of. And one of the reasons is that Islam was not just a thing to believe and to pray and to fast. It was also the reason why the rest of the peninsula was coming to conquer your city. So there's multiple reasons that people were vested in this and hooked into this because their survival was at stake. And they didn't go from being persecuted to being normalized. They went from being persecuted to defending themselves to conquering. And then you get a different problem, which is vested for the wrong reasons. Now, the next generation did have vested for the wrong reasons and had heedlessness. Umar ibn Khattab was the first person to have to tackle heedlessness. And he did by offering rewards, financial rewards for anyone who memorized Surah Al-Baqarah. That's the first time this ever happened. And the companions had a very hard time grasping their head around this new generation of people who are Muslim, but are mentally checked out. And of course, that's what happens when you're born into a faith and the struggle of the religion is finished. Because when you're born into something that's being persecuted, you're like automatically, the whole situation, the political situation is too drastic to have no opinion and to not to take any sides. But second generation began to have that, and that it will exist until the end of time. Maybe the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that at the end of time, there won't be this. There will be two factions in the Ummah. One faction is pure Iman with no hypocrisy in it. The other faction is pure belief, a pure hypocrisy with no Iman in it. So the beginning of time, all the way again in the end of time, you only have two camps. In Mecca, it was believers and kafirs. In Medina, it was believers and Jews and hypocrites. After that, it was all mixed up. End of time, it will be kuffar and then Muslims and munafiqs. The end of time.